Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm starting out a couple minutes late on the suggested time. We won't go into any of the stuff I deal with trying to get set up quickly, but it seems like there's always something broken. There's always a technical issue. Anyways, we're here. Let's get started. Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm Adam Ruf. I am a product designer at AngelList. If you're looking for cool startup jobs, definitely check out AngelList. Let me see where I am position-wise. I'm trying to figure out where to stand on this webcam here. Tonight we are looking at Design Contest 16. This is a contest as our first sponsored contest. Still portfolio building challenge, just a little bit more ways to win. It's all around reimagining an AI-powered recipe, ingredient, substitution, user experience. That's a mouthful. Basically, there's a little preview here of our sponsor's current experience substituting ingredients. And today, what are we doing today? We're doing a Divergent Thinking and Ideation workshop. So let's get set up to do this. All right, bear with me one moment. I have to select sketch. Nice. All right, cool. Now I'm going to be able to transition back and forth. Now I have sketch working, and I'll just zoom in here. We've got UX Design Contest 16. That's the topic of the contest. What's Divergent Thinking? So that will cover these real quick. I'll just do this real simply. Divergent thinking is basically thinking broadly, or maybe you've heard like think outside the box. That has a strong alignment with divergent thinking. You may have also seen, let's see if I can use this pencil tool. You may have seen, oh, that line is so thin. That's not going to work. You're not going to be able to see that. There we go. It's ridiculous. How do I make this pencil? You may have seen like a triangle diagram where you see diverge and converge. Right? Diverge, then converge. So it's really about increasing dramatically the breadth of ideas, really thinking broadly and expanding the ideas that you're considering, so then you can evaluate those and converge down to a clear path. That's my quick response to divergent thinking. What are some effective strategies for efficient ideation? So a few things. Brainstorming, literally just brainstorming in its purest sense, like jotting down ideas, right? What else? We have mind maps. We have competitive analysis. I think this actually comes a little bit later. I'm going to keep it off. So I think like brainstorming and mind maps are two great places to start. Just start getting your ideas out of your head. You can time box these. That's what helps to be efficient. You can also, right, pull in other people is always good. The more minds you have working on something, the faster you should be able to move towards these divergent ideas and really capturing ideas that are beyond kind of what's on your radar or within your periphery. A good tool, I'll actually share a tool I just discovered that Whimsical, which I've used quite a bit recently for wireframing, also supports mind maps and like sticky notes and other things. So Whimsical, which is whimsical.com. Oh yeah, let me make sure I drop in my links to chat. By the way, if you have a question or you have something to share, please hit me up in chat. And then let's check out Whimsical. So switch back. Oh, let's just actually, before we do that, we'll just take a look again at the current experience. So I think some things to take away are in this dynamic recipe experience, you can swap out certain ingredients, but not all ingredients. I'm going to collapse everything. So we see like avocado is pretty important to this recipe. Black pepper is very important to this recipe, as these are the only things that can't be changed, right? Everything else you can change. So that's kind of setting the context. Great, we're thinking about recipes. And now that we're thinking about that, we want to think more broadly than that. So I'm actually going to hop over to this mind map sandbox and just real quickly start thinking about digital substitution experiences that just pop into my head. So one of the first things I'm thinking about is like clothing, shoe shopping, swapping colors. Okay. How about something else? What's another kind of digital substitution experience? Why did I pick low energy afternoons to do all this thinking? All right. What else? Swapping, digital substitution. So I'm replacing something. Oh, maybe like food ordering. It's basically like add this, remove that. It's a little bit different than substitution, but I think the key thing in initial ideation or brain dumping is like no rules, just go for speed. Don't worry about quality. It's really about quantity, not quality of ideas. What else? Digital substitution experiences. So things where I'm swapping things in and out. Ooh, I just thought of one. Grocery shopping, like online grocery shopping, where you pick substitutes. Picking backup substitutes. And I think I'm going to try to think even broader. On this side, I'm going to focus on digital. I'm going to start expanding off to the left here and starting to think about what are some other experiences I have where I'm switching things. I'm constrained on resources and I'm trying to do X. So I'm swapping something out. I don't think this line of thinking is helping me very much. I'm trying to think of something. The only thing I can think of is like a DIY project where I'm replacing a tool, right? So I don't have a wrench, but I have some pliers or like something else. That doesn't help me, but it gets it out of my brain and lets me move on to think of some other things. Clothes, food ordering, grocery shopping. I think there's probably some element of like customization as well, which I think goes into food ordering. If this is like customization. Okay, that's it that's coming to mind right now. So I'm actually gonna take a little screenshot of this side, which I think is more helpful. And then, oops, I'm like revealing some stuff I've already been doing. That's fine. I did like an earlier brain dump as well. Let's think about this stuff. And what I want to do before I go look at those other brain dump things are look for some inspiration around these patterns. So I think the clothing one is really interesting. What am I going to do? I don't really want to share like my Amazon. Can I look at Amazon.com without signing in? Let's find out. And then I'll jump to that page. Otherwise, I'll just open something in another off screen and take some screenshots. Why is it so slow? Oh, I see. I'm in the wrong Chrome profile. Hang on one second. I know what I can do too while we're looking is just clothing shopping and just look at images. Nope. Online clothing shopping. I'm trying to see if this will be a proxy for things, but I actually don't see what I'm thinking of. No worries, let me look for men's pants. All right, here's what I'm thinking about. I'm gonna take a screenshot and pop it in. Thanks for your patience. There we go. So like here's a substitution pattern, right? I've got these like little choices. I've got this big kind of main one, and I can pick these different things, and things will update. The price might update. The size availability might update. To me, Amazon is such a familiar pattern. I don't know about who the users are of this of the product, but assuming they have experience with Amazon, I should probably look at a few other big online retailers. I'm gonna look at Walmart. And then if anyone in chat has ideas for other good places to check out, let me know. Okay, I see another pattern. This is great. So here's another pattern from Walmart. And then let's check out one more. Maybe like one of the shopping mall stores like Macy's. Pants. Interesting. Macy's describes it as bottoms, which I suppose makes sense. It can include more things than just pants. Yeah, it has the same kind of thing. Interesting. So it seems like Amazon's quite unique in its like showing the product versus the colors. Cool, so that's one pattern. How about this food ordering thing? Food ordering is really about more like adding and removing. I'm trying to think of any place where I'm swapping. I'm gonna pop over to DoorDash and just look. Oh, I know. talked about the grocery shopping and the Instacart. Let me see how quickly I can get to that. Instacart substitution. Here's one. Whoa, where'd it go? Okay, copy this. Whoa, so big. Okay, so some grocery store thing. Other kinds of things are doing or swapping. Like carousels, some sort of image carousel. Image carousel example. Right, even this is a kind of a selection. So that's interesting. So I'm going to grab that. So you can see, hopefully you're getting a sense of what this divergent thinking is looking like. It's really like trying to go broad, look at different examples of swapping or replacing before we start honing in. I'm going to look for I'm going down a rabbit hole of junk. Instacart replacement. This has a little bit. Oh man, that's so tiny. Is there a better image? See if I can find a better image real quick. Looks like they're so tiny. All right, let's go back here. Swapping, or focus. Kind of want to take a look at Netflix. I want to remember what it looks like. What it looks like to these things kind of grow. I'm just going to take a screenshot here. Okay, we'll stop that talking. Oh, that really didn't, I didn't catch it well. Shoot. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Now I think I got it. So this concept of like small things and like a big thing. Great. Okay, let's say we've used up our time box and we want to move forward. So I'll also throw out some other things in this realm of divergent thinking, right? What are some other ways of selecting, substituting, right? We have actually an HTML element called select that allows us to select different things from a list. So very simple, but something that I think we should also capture. And then I was also thinking about images. Let me capture some of these other ideas. So I'm going to start pulling this thing together, and I'm going to think a little bit, try to capture some thoughts about why I think this might not be as engaging, right? Just thinking reasons why people might not click on swappable ingredients. Okay, 1. They're not familiar with dynamic recipes, right? So maybe there's some education needed. 2, they don't recognize the, I'll try to draw this out, that the icon that identifies when an ingredient substitute is available. And 3, let's see here. They might just be so used to like substituting, right? Like existing habit of substituting on the fly, right? So maybe they read ingredients, are like, cool, I have most of this stuff, I'll fill in the rest, I'll be creative on my own. Okay, so one of these things is addressable. Let's look at something else. Don't recognize the icon. I guess this is actually this is a maybe symptom. Actually, I'm going to put that here. I'm going to stop numbering these things so I don't get into this situation where I have to edit the number every time. That's going to be frustrating. Okay. All right, so these top ones are basically people don't feel the need. And actually the first one doesn't cover that. This one does. And then people don't grok that they can substitute ingredients. And that's where this comes in. Not familiar with dynamic recipes, don't recognize the icon. And then this is kind of the sub point, right? They don't know they can substitute ingredients. Great. And I think really what we can do in terms of, remember the goal, right? What's the goal? I should go back to the page so we remember what the goal is. Project brief, right? It's really to rethink the experience of substituting recipe ingredients through 2 to 3. Oh, there's a typo right there. I'll have to fix that after. It should be unique design concepts. And it's really about increasing engagement, right? Early data, the problem is lower than expected user engagement. So how do we get people to engage with these recipes more? And I think we've hit on one of the potential barriers is that we can help solve through design, and that is making sure that people know they can substitute. And I'll call out something here. Like, to be fair, this screenshot that I took isn't including all the information, right? We do have this kind of education here. Click an ingredient and chain to change and see substitutes. And we've even got this like, how does this work? So I'm actually going to take screenshots of that as well. I'm going to scroll up and let's get this whole piece in here. So thinking about all the information available. I think the beautiful thing will be if we can design something that's kind of compelling and interesting and enticing, where people are just drawn to it and they want to play around with it because it looks fun. And by playing, being playful and having fun, they actually can discover the power of the dynamic recipe. Okay, great. So we've captured some stuff there about some potential problems. That's maybe they don't know that they can do it. And then there's this thing that's like, lack of appeal, right? Substituting ingredients lacks fun appeal. I think we can say that. There's nothing that screams out, hey, play with me, see what else you can swap out instead of chickpeas, or get some inspiration on what you might use if you don't have cherry tomatoes or if you don't have sesame seeds, right? Cool. So let's think about what we can do for those. So going back to this approach, like thinking about this select menu, to me, this would make it I think this would increase dramatically the education piece, reduce the need for education. Oh, look, I can pick these things. These things look like these select menu things. I'm familiar with how this works. I can actually pick and change these different things. Another thing I thought about was like how ordering comes into play. Right now, some things can be substituted, some things can't, and they're not necessary. I mean, I guess there's two kind of groups or chunks, but it doesn't look like there's a ton of logic to them. And actually, I think this might be updated, unless I just misread it, because I have this wasa gluten-free as something that is not editable, at least when I was thinking about it. But it's more likely just my mistake. So let's say, how do we apply this pattern? Let's look at this like clothing shopping pattern. How might we apply this kind of format to this recipe? All right, so, and this, actually I'm gonna go back here and just jot down some thoughts. No photos. Like, there's certain types of photos that people are drawn to. Faces, food. So I really think there's an opportunity potentially to leverage photographs. It seems like they almost have an icon database or a database for all of these different icons, which seems like that would be extremely difficult to scale. And also, people aren't familiar with looking at food that looks like illustrations, right? People are used to looking at food as real food. So I think adding photos, iconography lacks appeal of photos. And then what else? Lack of animation, missing opportunity for delight. Great. All right, I'm going to come over here now and do what I was talking about. I'm kind of meshing these. So thinking about this ingredient substitution with this clothing shopping experience. So where are my food photos? So let me grab something where I actually have a few photos. It'd be better if I had even more, but let's try this out. All right, so let's make this a big one. Bigger one. And then I'll have these small ones off to the side. I think that makes sense. I'm trying to think about other, oh, whoops. You know, it could, depending on what size you have, if you have real small things, you could have things laid out on the side. I don't know that those are necessarily going to be recognizable. Like, I chose a weird one maybe. This is olive oil versus some other kind of oil. Clearly needs work. No one's going to be able to tell what these photos mean. So already running into like some issues. Let's see if we have a better example. I think I've been using this recipe's real data, and that's what makes it kind of hard. For example, tomatoes is all tomato stuff. It's not as obvious contrast of like tomato, potato, carrot. Maybe I can find a different recipe though. Let me see if I can find another recipe that has more mozzarella. So these are different kinds of cheese. Kind of recognizable. Here's one: mushrooms, olives, sun-dried tomato. I really like this. All right, so I'm gonna screenshot this. I think this will be a potentially good demo. Although it does raise the issue of if they don't have the right type of photos, it's not necessarily identifiable. Okay, and then I'm gonna find some mushroom, olive, and sun-dried. I actually have sun-dried tomato. And then let's do mushrooms and olives. So the way that I did that last time was, how did I do that? No background images. Yeah, I think I found, I don't know what I found. Stick PNG, yeah, this thing. And then let's search for olives. And great. Let's copy this image over. Okay. And then, what was the other one? Mushrooms. Like, what's more recognizable? Just these little kind of button mushrooms. 2 of them. 3 is visually better. I actually like this one here, because it's got like almost looks like a whole one and then a chopped one, depending on what you have. Okay. Here we go. Ooh. Mushrooms are the main one, and then you can choose, maybe make them all the same size. If we do that. They're not all the same dimensions, but just bear with me. Okay, and then we can I'm trying to think of how. Yeah, this will look super janky. I'm not worried about what things look like right now. We're still in the problem solving phase, not a polish phase. Okay, so it could be something like this, where you can actually see the other options. Another thing is that I'd like to say is an option is, you know, do nothing or close to do nothing. So I'm also going to I'm going to cut these things here. let's see what I can do with this. This might not be the best tool. Oh, I can crop. Great. Redo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and let's crop to mushrooms. And crop to olives. And crop to some red tomato. There we go. So even if we just, I mean, looking at this, even if we just display these together, this icon almost changes meaning selected. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna search for an icon like this. Ideally, the check mark is white. Yeah, it's hard to see that. How can I hack this? I can put an oval behind it. That's kind of the same size. There we go. Let's group these. Look at that hackery. So here's even an idea of like showing visually, okay, cool, now I can actually see these options and we can look at those and select them. So I think yeah, I mean, there's a way to hover over and get information. Something like this could still potentially work. I'm gonna play with it in a little bit different layout. So that looks like that's visually not that great, although there's potentially more room to show a preview. Nah, we're gonna keep it, but we're gonna like spin it off to the side. All right, what else do we have? What other ideas here? The square and this concept of like circle or selected. So this is something that's interesting, right? It's like the current thing. So maybe there is a mushroom, picture of mushrooms. And then what I really like about this kind of like whimsical tool is just like zooming in, zooming out. All right. So you could have mushrooms. Oh, you know what's interesting? One thing that's split up is the number, like mushrooms 0.75 cups. To me, one of the things I noticed is like a little bit of ping-ponging, like back and forth with my eyes. In general, if you see text that's really split up like that, and people aren't going to be like scanning one column at a time, but there's like relevant information, reducing the width of items to reduce that ping-ponging can help. And I wonder if we just add it into the actual selector. So 0.75 cups. Again, this is like weird. I think part of the issue is just with the labels that they're using too. 0.75 cups, 1 ounce, 2 pieces, 2 sliced. They're very 1 ounce. Like that means I have to weigh it. Like, am I going to weigh tomato sauce? No. But if I can measure it, I think sticking to measuring is going to be a lot more helpful. 3/4 cups. Maybe we add it after. So we're actually following kind of the order or the direction of the design. But now we have our little mushrooms. I feel like when it gets so small, you can't really see it. So let's go with our bigger image. There we go. All right. I'm already starting to like this direction a little bit. You can imagine doing this with a few other things, and suddenly you have your recipe. It looks more dynamic. There's some ways to probably tighten it up when we start getting to that phase. What's this other option as well? You could have the amount listed here as well, right? 3-4 cups. Olives, I don't know. Let's check out the recipe. How does it change? So if we change to olives, what do we get? We get 50 grams. Ugh, I don't know how many pieces are in 50 grams, or how many olives, or how many tablespoons of olives. Let's just say 7 olives. Olives 7, I think it would maybe be the simplest thing, because usually we think of olives as whole objects, unless they're chopped. Sun-dried tomato, what happens if we pick that? 10 pieces. Okay, suddenly we get into, now we're into pieces. Okay. Nice. All right, what else for our ideation exercise? What other things haven't we explored yet? I guess we explored a little bit of the Netflixy thing, although we can be more dramatic in it. So let's do it. Let's show there's like this one. Maybe it was on the left, and then there's another one, right? And we'll separate this so it's more clear. This is an idea. So you got this idea of selecting. Maybe all this stuff gets a little bit smaller. Go. And then we've got this idea where hovering or selecting one makes something big. I wonder if there's a way to, no, we'd have to do that in design tools. That's fine. I was thinking it might be nice to have additional contrast, like some of these other foods fall to the back. Maybe they're semi-transparent, so they kind of fade back, and the large one comes to the front. And then one we didn't explore was this basically carousel concept. So this one's interesting. I think let's check this out. And we didn't do this grocery shopping one. So carousel concept. So, all right. Let's just do this real quick. We're about at time. Come on. Okay. I'm just going to create a few things. These are like a few ingredients. This might be like a horrible, awful idea, but let's just explore it. That's what this whole divergent thinking and ideation is all about. So we can see a few things. Actually, this is interesting. This has, for each one, it's got an indicator of how many options. It has controls to go to the next one, and it has some information. So there's something actually kind of interesting about this one. Let's still have to use our imagination though. Yeah, this is where I start to feel like whimsical is presenting some barriers to actually showing the idea. Because I don't think I can include an image background, but because all these things happen to be white backgrounds, let's just start doing this. Okay. And yes, if you're saying, hey, wait a minute, I thought like olives are an option for mushrooms. Yeah, just bear with me. I'm trying to, as quickly as possible, just capture the idea. It doesn't have to be the polished execution. We're really just trying to come up with some different ideas to move us forward to the next step. Okay. Make sure none of these have these frames on. Cool. So, taking our pattern into play, there's a few different things we want to do. And actually, I feel like these are not big enough. Make it a little bigger. 140. 140. There we go. Okay. Okay, great. Now I've got some room. I'm gonna zoom in here. And I can say 3/4 cups. Mushrooms. 3/4 cups. Cupsty. And sometimes I notice whimsical freezes. You try to move something around and it freezes. I just refresh immediately. It's been my habit. Okay, so we've got that. Let's shrink it down so it's smaller. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of mushrooms here, just so I have the idea that there's a larger picture here communicating mushrooms. And then controls, angle, no, arrow. This is what I want. Let's put one there. Let's find another one. Arrow. There we go. Great. And maybe we just show the controls on hover. Maybe that's how it can work. Thinking about that, and then showing the number of options. We don't have something for that. So can we just do dot? Maybe we do this. Circle. Yeah, maybe there are 6. Okay, there are 6 options of substituting mushrooms. You get the concept already, right? I think it makes sense to like copy these a little bit, make it show that it's going to be multiple, a bigger image, or maybe it's confusing. I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is not the polished step. And then actually what I'm going to do, let's group all this together and just duplicate it, just to get a sense. Whoop. Cool, and then you can imagine we have different things, right? We have, I don't know, what's that recipe call for? Mozzarella, tomato sauce. Wasa, gluten free. And 2 pieces. And that'll be whatever image. And then mushrooms, and then there was mozzarella cheese, 1/4 cup. Let's say for this one, there are fewer options to choose from. So we just have one of these dots here. Nice. Mushrooms are a lot of options. I think mozzarella had a ton of options. I remember seeing all kinds of different cheeses. So, no. Whatever, just quick hacking it. All right. And then again, you can start to see some of the potential issues, like, wow, these controls are really noisy on things. Maybe it makes more sense to have mushroom over here, and then you can start, ideating off of that as well. I think the point we can make is that these adding some of these, exploring some of these patterns and adding some of these affordances can definitely make it more interesting or engaging and playful. I think there's another aspect too of like how things animate in the experience. Let's see, was there any other one? We just got a couple minutes left for this kind of ideation session. We've already got, let's see, I'm going to try to pull together some of our ideas. We've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I count this one? 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I already got like 8 different ideas for the substitution experience. And let's look to see what this grocery one has. So this one is looking at one thing. I guess one of the things I'm taking away actually is a lot of inspiration about the imagery. So I actually think this kind of imagery is fantastic. If it could say, celery, blah, 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 and then you can switch it. And if it, maybe I should just be grabbing these images. Because actually these images from Instacart, and I don't know if they're using their own private library or if there's some sort of publicly available database for like stock food photos like this on a white background, but they look really nice. And I think that could be a big thing. So I think that might be my next shortcut, is looking at Instacart and searching for the ingredients to see what images they have. All right, I think we're right at time. Sorry, I got a little bit of a late start today, but hopefully this was helpful. You get a sense of what this contest is all about. It's really about coming up with different concepts of how the substitution process experience can work, and how do we make it more engaging and interesting. So, you can feel free to steal some of these ideas as inspiration, and I'll encourage you to, again, think really broadly. Exercise that divergent thinking, maybe ask a family member or a friend for some ideas around places where they're substituting or comparing different items that can really provide outside inspiration for this very focused recipe experience. So just checking in, I'm trying to see what's the plan. So next week, or planned, oh man, didn't I update the time? Let me see. Okay, I did update the time, but people may have seen another time. Anyways, it's really hard for me to try to schedule these things these days. Anyways, next week, data-informed design concept evaluation. What does that mean? Probably should have used simpler language and made it easier to grok. It's basically like, how do we evaluate some of these different concepts by using data? So what type of data can I gather quickly and easily to help me weigh some of these concepts against one another? Now, there's still a little bit more work for me to do to actually pull some of these together into a little bit more cohesive design. So that's a little bit of pre-work for myself. to get set up for next week's session. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope this was valuable. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions, and I hope to see you next week. Thanks all.